at a very high level the difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit. A nonprofit, any of the assets that are in the nonprofit have to stay in the nonprofit space. Assets in the for-profit business can exit the business and go into shareholders' hands. So at a high level, that's going to be what it is. If you, as a nonprofit, donated $1 million, and then your nonprofit, it has a building, and then you cease to exist as a nonprofit, you decide you're going to get rid of this nonprofit, it's dissolving. That $1 million asset has to stay in the nonprofit space. So you have to give it or sell it and give the money to another nonprofit. So the money is trapped, basically, not in a bad way, but it's in the nonprofit space. Sometimes you've got an idea, you're not sure if you should do it as a nonprofit or a for-profit, or why, or maybe what to do there. I think in reality there are some specific differences, and in reality you can likely pursue either path with just about any idea. It really is a matter of what are the motivations, and then maybe there's some strategics around picking one versus the other. So if you're looking to get donations in order to pursue this thing, then being a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, you can offer a tax deduction to those that donate to you. So there's like a good reason to go this path, because you'll be able to get donations and give tax write-off, and then you can go pursue this thing. It gets a little tricky for the nonprofits that don't need to raise money. So there are a lot of nonprofits that don't raise money. A thrift store, now they're given goods, but let's say it's a coffee shop, or where they are actually buying and wholesale coffee beans, and they're selling coffee. It's like their mission, as far as why they want to be a nonprofit, might be we're buying these beans from overseas, and it's an impoverished area, and they grow opium crops, and we're getting them to convert opium crops to coffee crops. But the reality is you're buying the beans and then you're selling beans. So should that be a for-profit or a nonprofit? It really can be either. If you're not looking to raise any donations, then it really could be either. There was one nonprofit that I helped that was actually a for-profit that we took, it was a nonprofit that we took to for-profit that did just that and did coffee. And one of the reasons there was the business motivations around being a business. It's not about, hey, I can pocket money. The reality is for profit to, for the difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit, there has to be a profit in the first place before that ever even comes into the equation. As far as, do those profits stay in the entity, or do they get distributed to the owners? If I make, if my business makes $100,000 and I spend $100,000, there's $0 to distribute anyways. If I make $100,000, I spend $80,000, there's $20,000 left. A lot of businesses just leave that money in the business so they can spend it the next year. So the money still was not distributed. It all just stayed inside this mission that you're pursuing to try and grow this big thing. So if there are no profits, if all profits are just reinvested, then essentially they're still operating very similarly. You can also set your compensation. As a nonprofit, you can choose what your compensation is, or your board can. So this is an example of maybe a nonprofit that might behave inappropriately, but it still is legal, where my business makes $1 million, we spend $100,000, there's $900,000 profit, we distribute it all, it goes to me, I made $900,000. Alternatively, I could form a nonprofit. My business is now a nonprofit. We made $1 million. And so I'm gonna set my salary at $1 million. So we spent $1 million and there is no profit. So we're a nonprofit. There is no profit to distribute to owners because we're chasing this good thing. but I made $1 million. In both cases, I made $1 million. In this case, I did it as salary, and in this case, I did it as a distribution. So I think ultimately consider the entity structure as a tool to try and accomplish what you want to accomplish. If it's you want to collect donations, you may want to offer tax deductions. If you, on the example where we took a coffee company from a nonprofit to a for-profit, the nonprofit was losing. It was losing $100,000 a year. We would buy these beans from Thailand. We would pay staff. They would sell the coffee once it's roasted. And at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we would be $100,000 in the hole. So they would do a fundraiser. They would raise $100,000, and then we'd do it again the next year. And so every year, the thing is upside down by $100,000, where donors have to come out of pocket, or choose to come out of pocket, donate money to keep this thing afloat, to pursue this mission. Sometimes in the nonprofit space, you can end up not needing to analyze the business side of things. In an entity that runs like a business, you're buying beans, you're selling beans, you need to weigh what your unit economics are. How much am I buying them for? How much should I sell them for so there's enough money to buy the next shipment of beans? If you blend that with, we're a nonprofit, we can raise money, we can raise donations, then a lot of times you don't have to, the ability to not have to calculate that stuff. We have a golf tournament fundraiser coming up at the end of the year. If we fall short, we can just raise the money. We can just raise more donations, or we need to raise more money. If you're a business and it's an entrepreneur that's running it, then you don't sell enough, you don't have enough money, you don't get a paycheck, you don't get food. So we moved a nonprofit to a for-profit for that exact reason. There's never been $1 of profits distributed to the owners. But the fact that it's a for-profit, there is no ability, we burn the ships. There is no ability to raise money at the end of the year and give tax write-off if there's not enough money to pay all the bills. So you are forced to live every month by did we make enough money to pay the bills or not? If not, we need to cut a salary, we need to cut an expense, or we can't buy this other thing. So in my opinion, I think they're both tools. You can pursue the same exact mission, whether it's through a nonprofit or a for-profit. It's pick which one you want to ride to pursue the mission. The financial impact in either path, it does not mean that they're different. They can be the same. It depends on who's running it and what their motivations are and why they're doing it. But you can have a profit. If we ever do turn a profit, we're just going to buy more beans. The mission statement essentially for this coffee company is buy as many beans as possible. So if we turn a profit, we're buying more beans, and that's what it's going to be. So there will never be dollars to distribute to the owners, even though it's a for-profit entity.